the subscribe button if you don't want me to come at night.
A typical Saturday afternoon, a small carnival in the heart of California. Our story unfolds amidst the laughter of children, the clinking of game booths, the scent of cotton candy wafting through the air, and the faint hum of a nearby Ferris wheel. The carnival, a temporary splash of color and excitement in an otherwise mundane town, was a place of joy, thrill, and the promise of adventure. In this whirlwind of excitement, we meet our protagonist, a thrill-seeking teenager named Alex. With a glint in his eyes and a spirit for the daring, Alex was always one to seek out adventures, the kind that would make his heart race and adrenaline pump. Today, his eyes were set on a peculiar attraction that seemed to stand apart from the rest, a mirror maze. The mirror maze, a grand spectacle of shimmering glass and twisting paths, stood as an enigma amidst the kaleidoscope of the carnival. It was a labyrinth of reflections, a place where reality tangled with illusion, where one could lose oneself only to find a dozen versions staring back. To the ordinary eye, it was but a funhouse, a place of harmless disorientation and laughter. But to Alex, it was a challenge, an adventure waiting to be embarked upon. His heart throbbed with anticipation, his palms ached for the cool touch of mirrored walls, his eyes sparkled with the thrill of the unknown. As Alex approached the maze, the carnival's noises seemed to fade into a distant hum, replaced by the silent whisper of the maze beckoning him. The mirrored surface reflected his excited grin, the carnival lights casting a kaleidoscope of colors on his face. The anticipation was palpable, the thrill almost tangible as Alex stepped closer, his hand reaching out to push open the entrance door. Little did Alex know he was about to step into a world far from ordinary. As Alex stepped into the mirror maze, the air turned cold, the lights dimmed, and an eerie quietness wrapped around him. His heart pounded in his chest as he began his journey through the labyrinth of mirrors. The maze was a confusing mix of twisting and turning paths, a never-ending kaleidoscope of his own reflection staring back at him from every angle. The excitement of the adventure stirred in him, a thrilling game of hide-and-seek with his own image. But as he ventured deeper into the maze, the atmosphere began to change. The once amusing reflections now seemed to stretch on forever, creating an unsettling feeling of endlessness. The funhouse mirrors distorted his image in bizarre and grotesque ways, transforming his familiar face into something unrecognizable. The laughter that once echoed through the maze now felt like a distant memory, replaced by a pervading silence that was occasionally broken by his own footsteps echoing off the mirrored walls. And then strange occurrences began to unfold. Out of the corner of his eye, he thought he saw fleeting movements in the reflections. But when he turned to look directly, they vanished. Whispers began to echo through the mirrored corridors, a chilling symphony of voices that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. He could feel his pulse quicken, his palms grow sweaty. The thrill of the maze was quickly transforming into a creeping unease. Alex tried to shake off the feeling, telling himself it was just a trick of the light, a product of his own imagination. But the echoes grew louder, the fleeting movements more frequent. He felt a chill run down his spine as he realized he might not be alone in the maze. The reflections were no longer just his own. They were shifting, changing, morphing into something else. Then in the gleaming surface of the mirror, Alex saw something that made his blood run cold. There in the mirror stood a reflection. But it wasn't his. It was a moment that made Alex's blood run cold. A face peered back at him from the mirror, a face that was not his own. This figure bore a sinister smirk, its eyes gleaming with an eerie light that sent chills racing down his spine. The figure mimicked Alex's every move, an uncanny doppelganger in this labyrinth of mirrors. But then, the unthinkable happened. The figure began to move independently, its arms reaching out, stretching towards Alex. Its fingers seemed to elongate, reaching out from the mirrored surface, trying to break the barrier between reflection and reality. This was no ordinary carnival mirror maze, it was a nightmarish reality, a labyrinth where reflections came to life. Alex's heart pounded in his chest like a frenzied drum. He tried to look away, but his eyes were drawn back to the mirror, to the figure that was not his reflection. It was as if the figure was calling out to him, pulling him in with its hypnotic stare. Desperate, Alex turned and ran. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the maze, bouncing off the mirrored walls, amplifying his fear. He took turn after turn, but every path, every corridor led him back to the same spot. Back to the same mirror, back to the figure. His breath came in ragged gasps. His mind screamed at him to escape, but his body wouldn't obey. He was trapped in a twisted game of cat and mouse, the mouse running for its life, and the cat, the figure in the mirror, ever watching, ever waiting. Every mirror he passed reflected the same scene, the figure reaching out, the figure getting closer. It was a horrifying dance, a dance of fear and anticipation. The figure's smirk widened with every step Alex took, the gleam in its eyes growing brighter, more intense. With every step Alex took, the figure in the mirror seemed to get closer. Panic surged through Alex as he ran, the sound of his heartbeat echoing in his ears. The labyrinthine mirror maze stretched out before him, a never-ending maze of reflections. His breath came in ragged gasps, his lungs aching from the exertion. The once familiar carnival attraction had twisted into a nightmarish landscape. His own reflection stared back at him from 1,000 angles, each one more distorted and grotesque than the last. The once amusing kaleidoscope of images now took on a macabre tone, each reflection mocking his desperate attempt to escape. The figure, a terrifying specter birthed from his own image, was relentless. It was a distorted caricature of himself, its features twisted into an unrecognizable form, its eyes burning with a terrifying hunger. It was as if the figure was not merely chasing him, but hunting him. The whispers grew louder, the figure's voice bouncing off the mirrored walls, creating a cacophony of chilling sounds. "Alex! Alex!" it hissed, its voice a serpentine slither that sent shivers down his spine. The whispers felt like icy fingers tracing down his back, a chilling reminder of the figure's relentless pursuit. He ran, his footsteps echoing through the maze, his terror mirrored in the endless reflections. The walls seemed to close in on him, the maze becoming more disorienting with each passing second. The mirrored corridors twisted and turned, creating a dizzying effect that made his head spin. However, amidst the terror, there was a spark of determination. Alex was not going to be a victim. He was not going to let this nightmarish figure consume him. He was going to fight, to survive, to escape. His heart pounded in his chest like a war drum, each beat a testament to his will to live. The adrenaline coursed through his veins, pushing him forward, propelling him through the maze. Just when Alex thought he couldn't run anymore, he saw something that gave him a glimmer of hope. A flicker of light in the distance. It was faint, but it was there. A beacon in the darkness. A promise of escape. There in the distance was the exit, but something was off. The dimly lit sign reading "Exit" flickered intermittently, casting eerie shadows that danced on the mirrored walls. Alex's heart pounded in his chest, relief washing over him in waves. It was almost over, he thought, but as he moved closer, his heart sank. The exit was just another reflection, a cruel trick played by the maze, and there, standing between him and the real exit, was the figure. The figure that had been a mere reflection moments ago. The figure that had chased him through the labyrinth of mirrors, its face a chilling mimicry of his own. The tension in the air was palpable, like the calm before a storm. Alex could feel the figure's eyes on him, its gaze as cold as ice. He could hear his own ragged breathing echoing off the mirrored walls, the only sound in the suffocating silence. He could see his own fear mirrored in the figure's eyes, a stark reminder of his predicament. With every ounce of courage he could muster, Alex took a step forward, then another, and another. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest, his breath hitched in his throat. He was terrified, but he was also determined. He had to get out. He had to confront the figure. He had to face his reflection. But as he prepared to take the final step, the figure mirrored his actions. It was like looking into a twisted mirror, his actions reflected back at him with a malicious twist. The figure's eyes glowed in the dim light, a predatory gleam that sent chills down his spine. It was a standoff, a battle of wills. The figure had the advantage, but Alex had the determination. As Alex prepared to face his reflection, the lights in the maze flickered and went out. The darkness was absolute, all-consuming. The figure's chilling laughter echoed in the silence, a haunting reminder of the nightmare that was far from over. But Alex was not about to give up. Not yet. Not until he found the real exit.
Hit the subscribe button if you don't want me to come at night.